you again. Is the up you? Welcome, amazing people. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the space where we rise, build, and step up boldly into the fullness of who we are called to be. Women. Yes, that's right. Today's conversation is powerful, and you will just know how powerful very soon. And it's also a very necessary conversation to have because we are talking about something many women desire, but few truly understand: how to build. Yes, it's easier to pull down than to build. So today we're talking about how to build power, how to build influence, and how to build a life, today that. Settle in and then bring out your notepads, your writing materials. Then take this opportunity and go call in your sisters. Bring everybody to be here. Remember, all past episodes of Up You with Ezinne are up on our YouTube and our podcast channel. So please go take what you need for your life and learn. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can perch on the shoulders of giants and then go faster. And that's what we're going to do today. So you're doing, let me bring up our guest and get the show running on the way. Please make sure you bring in your sisters, everyone, like the stream, share the stream. We're kicking off in real time very soon. Don't worry, she is patient, she is here, and she will soon be live with us. Yes, I said it and it happened. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome, everyone. Please make sure you invite someone. Come in, everyone. Come in, come in, come in. Yes. So today, our guest is a social entrepreneur, a trade advocate, and a wellness leader. The founder and managing director of Avila Naturalle Limited, a brand committed to natural, safe, and effective wellness products. Through her work, she has empowered thousands of women to become entrepreneurs and has expanded African wellness products across the global markets. She serves on the National Trade Facilitation Committee and is the Vice President Conference of WIT International, Advancing Women in Global Trade. She is an alumna of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Initiative and Harvard Business School and has received please listen carefully here, over 65 awards, including global recognitions for leadership and innovation. Dear everyone, world over, please join me in welcoming the one, the only Dr. Temitope Mayegun today to the show. Good morning, Dr. Mayegun. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning, Ezinne. Thank you for inviting.
Morning. Thank you very much. It's such a privilege and an honor to have you join us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's start from the beginning. Are you ready?
Yeah, I am.
But you see, I always compliment my guests when they come, and I forgot to do that now. So I'm going to do it. You look amazing. You look actually younger than from what I remember last year. What's the secret?
Yeah, drink enough water, take fruits, avoid late night food. I'm trying to keep fit. I go to the gym more often now than before. So I'm just intentional about my health, my body, and I want to keep fit and look.
You
you know,
should. Whatever it is you're doing is working, and I'm coming to copy. You can be sure about that.
yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so let's start from the beginning, Dr. Mayegun. Please, could you tell us, every great journey begins with a moment of belief. What was that moment for you?
Yeah, it was a moment of encounter with God. God told me to start Avila, and I thank God I obeyed that time He told me to start because it was just looking like very impossible. That how do I even do this thing God is asking me to do? For me, that moment was a life-changing moment for me, a very great moment. I was actually restless. I was going up and down. God, how do I go about it? What you're asking me to do? For months, for weeks, I was restless, trying to figure out his plan. And today, look at where we are. You know, look at where we are. God has been so good. For me. Encounter with God change everything. It changed the whole trajectory of my life, and because I never knew I could even start a business and even create a business that will be successful, or be part of a vision like this, because I see myself as part of Avila most times, because God ordained it, and I just log in and here we are now. So that moment, when something it could be your intuition or something, the Holy Spirit is telling you, do something, do this, do that, you have to take advantage of that. Holy Spirit is to our advantage. I tell believers that, when God is telling you to do something, don't doubt. You may not see the whole picture. Like I didn't see everything from the beginning. I only saw parts. And the Bible says we know in part, we see in part. So I didn't see the whole full picture, but it was really scary that I had to go through a part I didn't know anything about. I've never been there before. I didn't even, I studied accounting in Unilag. So when I'm talking about facts and figures, talking about auditing, talking about cost accounting, that's my area of strength. That's my and I worked for years as an accountant, as you know, um, managing a business and a managing director. But I never knew I would go into manufacturing, because I was in the stock market, the money market, the banking sector for years. So until God said it is time. So for me, that moment was a very, very great moment for me. It was a moment of encounter. And anywhere I was going that time, there was nothing like algorithm that time or AI, but anywhere I went to, they were always talking about manufacturing, China going into this, the world is going global, everybody needs to start producing. God really set me up for this space I am today. I won't lie to you. So, and I'll be asking that, why is it that now this person is talking about uh, you know, the industrialization of our economy, and this, what's my business with that? And those people will tell me, it is all about you. I will go somewhere else, the person will be talking about the fact that Nigeria need to diversify, we need to start exporting, we need to. I was like, this these are not the kind of conversations that I was used to, because when you're talking about stock, when you're talking about trading, we're talking about even the banking sector, recapitalization, all of those things, treasury bill, all these are things that I was used to. And I built my expertise in that line. But all of a sudden, God came and changed the whole trajectory and said, drop everything and start Avila. And he gave me the name, he gave me the idea, and he said, start with coconut oil. Oh my God. That's really broke me. God will humble you. It would take you through, a particular journey that he knows that you don't even know how to get there. It will take you through a path that he knows the beginning to the end, but he just wants you to depend on him. So I was a bit scared. I was like, I didn't study science. God, you would have told me to study, this and that. He said, I use the weak things of this world to confound the wise, so that no man would glory in the flesh. That was it. That was the response he gave me when I was telling him that, what is this skincare about? I didn't study, I didn't do chemistry. And he started teaching. It's unbelievable when I tell people that God will show me revelation of what this is. I will tell me even before we started employing expertise, people with expertise and professionals in Avila. It taught me, it gave me the background information about science. It was telling me I didn't know milk has lactic acid. The first time I would know about lactic acid, it was Holy Spirit that told me in a revelation. But that's, milk has this. So when you're doing this, if you add milk to this particular product, it's going to. And I was like, wow. So when I did my research for every revelation, I go back to study. I go back to read. I go back to, I had to enroll in a school of natural skincare in London as well. I had to, read books. I had to get a mentor I paid that time. I think it was Dr. Axe or something. I had to pay him to teach me about essential oils and their impacts and all that. So, because for me, whatever God is asking you to do, you don't have excuse. You can't say because God asked me to do this and you depend totally on Him. You have to also learn. The Bible says the labor of the foolish wait, and because you know it's not how to go into the city. So the technical know-how, we have to figure it out. And that was what I was doing at the back end while I was depending on God for insight, for direction, for how to go about it. So we started with coconut oil. After some weeks, he said, add carrot oil. And I said, is there oil in carrots? He said, yes. For every plant, there is oil. That was what made me to go and study about essential oil. Because when he told me in that revelation, for every plant, there is oil, I said, wow. So and I enrolled and I got to know that even onions have oil. you know, even onions have essential oils. I was like, oh God, you are so great. So working with natural ingredients has actually helped me to know more about God. It has helped me to love him more, to really understand him better, that God cares. He is very interested in every aspect of our lives. How can you put oil in a seed? He already knew from the beginning that we will need oil to rub on our hair to make us look beautiful. So he had to put it in seed and plants. So for me, that moment was the greatest moment of my life. 2017, July 2017. And we started precisely 27th of July.
Wow. Wow. What a story. Even though I know that you are just, trying to make sure that you just keep it to the size that this platform will be able to take,
Yeah.
but what a story. What a story.
Yeah.
Several things. I took out several things, and I hope that the people on the stream, welcome everyone. I can see you. Keep the messages coming. Thank you so much. I hope everyone is also getting this nugget that I'm getting them. At the point I was like, are we really talking to an entrepreneur? Are we talking to a pastor? The way you were just putting the Bible
I am a
passages and everything.
pastor.
And then halfway, I was like, is God partial? How is it that God is just giving her all these revelations? Only her, only her. Some of us that
Oh,
have been saying, Father, where are you? Show us your face. We're not hearing anything. So it is actually very commendable that you are in tune, that you were still enough to hear that still voice when he was telling you, do this and do that. It's very interesting. You know, um, before anything becomes visible, it was already existing somewhere. So it is only people who can make that connection that can hear God's voice, and then asking them to do. So it all begins with faith. That's very interesting. Thank you for reminding us that we need to be in tune with God, listen up, and find exactly what it is He wants us to do. I
mm,
particularly like that part where you said the practical is our own. No, God has given you vision. Go and learn it. I like that you didn't sit back and say, okay, God, you did it. Oh, yeah, send the angels, let them go and activate Avila Naturalle as if it's going to be like cha cha. So thank you. Thank you for breaking it down. We will get it. We will
yeah.
get it. The women will get it and we would apply.
Thank you, man.
So, but let's talk about something else. Let's talk about your focus, honestly, because from the little you even shared, you were tenacious. Your focus was laser focusing, just like an eagle. You are building something, and building something of this scale requires discipline. What helped you stay focused while you were growing Avila? And to hear that it's just a 2017 project and this is 2025 and we're this big, I can imagine what is going to happen in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, So, what helped you? What helped you stay focused?
Okay. When I got the vision, one of the things I made up my mind about is discipline, because
Mm,
I know that when you're talking about sustainability, talking about, success, there's no how you can take discipline out of it. So I had to discipline my mind, my taste, you know. I made up my mind that throughout the first 2 years that I won't attend any party and I'm not going to really be available for any anything that would, take my attention or get me out of the focus or out of details because I was very, very intentional. You know, I made up my mind also to give it all it would take. I remember vividly, I would resume as early as 8 a.m., wear my suit, wear my shoe as if I was going I was going to the bank, and I made sure from the beginning we have structure in place. Discipline is very key. People don't really understand that without discipline, there's nothing you can build to last. You can't even build to last because you will be going off and on. So I was very focused on the business. Nigerians were not used to natural ingredients products that time, and there were a lot of complaint like carrot oil because what Nigerians were used to before we came into the market was the kind of carrot oil that when you use carrot oil, it will naturally whiten your skin. So, and the carrots they are talking the carrot oil they were talking about that time, it was actually not carrot oil, it was chemical infused with maybe 0.000% of carrots, and they call it carrot oil. So I had to do my research. We started the campaign against bleaching. We started the campaign against beautiful. That is, be you and be beautiful. That's beautiful. You have to, stay consistent. So we started educating Nigerians. So I didn't even allow any distraction because when you start something or maybe you're in you're building a career or business and you hit roadblock or maybe you have some little challenges or big challenges or whatsoever it is, people try to withdraw, they try to pause, they try to you know stop. But me, I was using that as opportunity to grow. Anytime we have issues like that, or maybe there's a big complaint, I look for how we can do it better. Okay, Nigerians they need to understand what they need to be educated, they need to understand what natural products are. So I started writing because I was the first content creator. I was the, you know, person producing the oils that time. I was the one also managing the back end. So many things I was doing, and I had to employ few people. We're three staff today. We're close to 100, and with our part time contract staff, we are over 100. So what am I saying? You just have to keep your eyes on your goals. People will tell you it is not possible. Some people actually confronted me and told me that do I think I can change the narrative about skincare in Nigeria? It's not possible. According to WHO, 77% of Nigerians they use whitening products. How do you want to change that narrative? I said this is God sending me to do this, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop me. One day I was so furious with a set of women. They were trying to discourage me, uh, trying to, speak, you know, words of discouragement and trying to also talk the business down, trying to, insult the business and myself. I said, 1,000 of you cannot take me out of this business. That no matter what it is, I am
mm,
here to last.
mm.
You have to be very dogged, as in very, you have to be dogged and very focused, be intentional. So there was also a time we had the issue with NAFDAC. They wrote petition against us. And NAFDAC said, oh, so they came with their force and the tax force, and they said, what is this about? I said, we are registered. Okay, they said, oh, that's true. The facility is registered, but you have some products that are not fully registered. I said, yes. Look at it. They are in process. They said somebody reported us, and the person said they must. I got that information from an insider and said the person wrote that they must shut the business down. And I said, 1,001 of that person. If that person is up to, if it's not one person, if they are up to 1,000, they can't shut Avila down. The guy was so surprised. I said, we would solve this and we would bounce back. So it was just a 24 to 48 hours things, and they resolve it. Once they noticed that the facility is actually registered with NAFDAC, some of the products are registered. So I said, okay, I have 30 products to register. Can you do that? They said, I feel like you are too. As at that time, they said, you are too big to be called SME, because SME starts from 2 to 5 products. I said, God keeps been giving me ideas, and I need to do whatever He asked me to say. Okay, no problem. Then move to a bigger place. So challenges will push you forward. That was what prompted us to, look for land. And God said, no, you are not going to just be moving around. Go and get a land. You are going, how do we get the money? He said, I will bring the money. I will bring angels that will sell the products. People started enrolling. People started, keep doing it. When we started, we were not perfect. But believe me, we were unlearning, relearning, and learning new things, trying to get it done by all means, getting people, researching. I had to go back to school, I had to learn the how to, the where to, what to. And thank God for the great team I was also working with. I had to employ people that I know would be valuable, that they will also share the passion, because if you can't even impact lives if you are not passionate about what you're doing, and you have to work with the right people. Because if you say, okay, this product, we need to make it natural, and the people are telling you, no, it's not possible, it will be impossible. Just like the Israelites, when they went to spy the land and they came down, they wept all night because of the impossibility mindset. Thank God for Caleb and Joshua that said, we would take over no matter what it is, and no matter how big these people are. They face the reality, but they allow the truth of the word of God to override the reality. And that's what most entrepreneurs that are in most faith-based entrepreneurs don't understand, that challenges will be there, but you have to allow your faith to be bigger than the issues or challenges that you are facing, and you have to be very focused, be bold. God gave me that courage, and I thank God for it. No matter what the problem is, there are times they call me, this and that is pulling, this one is. I say, what we would solve it. There's nothing too big that nothing will take my, my courage out, or would discourage me, will be big enough to discourage me from going forward. So we just have to be focused, shut down. There are times that you need, if you have too many friends and you're starting a business, you have to reduce your circle, because one thing about friendship, you have to reciprocate. You visit this tomorrow, if they visit you visit back, and all that. So when I started, I made sure I was so focused on the business, because God told me, Avila Naturalle is not your business. It is my business, and we are in it together. So I didn't want to be irresponsible. I didn't want God to see me as a daughter that is not ready to go along with Him. So I had to do my part so that He could do His own part well, and He did perfectly well, and He's still doing it.
Wow. Wow and wow again. You know, I often say that many people have vision, but not many have the focus to sustain it. And you have just proven me right. Because there are several distractions in business, like you rightly pointed out. You know, other opportunities may come up and they could distract you from your focus.
Mm.
Pressure, competition, even good
Yeah.
advice, good quote and unquote advice from friends and family. All of this constitute distractions. But
True.
you narrowed your mind, you zeroed in. As you just said, 1,000 of you cannot bring me down, and 1,000 of you cannot bring down Avila Natural. I was just whooping in my spirit. I'm like, this is a woman who knows what she had and she knows what she's doing, you know.
Yeah.
And then when you say be bold, I'm like, somebody would think that anybody who is saying be bold will have to look like a giant. I have some fierceness around them, but you are such a gentle dove, and yet you stood and you are conquering. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. Thank you.
You're you're
Now, let's
welcome,
talk
man.
about your voice. Let's talk about your voice because beyond building a business, you become a voice for women, you become a
Yeah.
voice for wellness, you become a voice for African enterprise.
Yeah.
When did you realize that your voice carried authority and carried influence?
Okay, yes. You know, um, I have a story, and I realized that people don't really see the back end most time. They don't even know the background. They don't understand what the other part of you is. They just see the glory, and people will they will tell you they want you to mentor them, women especially. So for me, I I realized that it's high time I start encouraging women because number one, my mom, you know, story was one of the things that propelled me into, supporting women. My mom's story, and I realized that because of the fact what happened to her when she gave birth to me and when I was 2 years old, I realized that it was because she didn't have the capacity, the knowledge on how to navigate life at that point. And so she fell into a lot of mistakes and errors. So I told myself, I don't want to fall into that kind of error. And I will not watch women going through the same thing she went through, the same thing that I have seen other women being through. I won't watch and see women go through the same thing. So I know women can be vulnerable. Women at times they feel they are not complete. They feel that they can't achieve anything without support system. They feel that they actually need a whole village to be very successful. So a lot of women also feel that they are not sufficient, they are not capable. So many but I also had that part because when I was growing up, despite the fact that my dad was telling me that as a woman, you know, you can achieve anything, but I still didn't. I was so scared because of the fact that the background I came from and the fact that I always have the picture of what happened when I was 2 years in my head till I was able to grow. So I just told myself, women need to be supported, we need empowerment. We need to create platform that will help them know. A lot of women they just start business because their friends are doing it. A lot of women they just follow patterns, they follow trend, they follow things because they feel that this is the thing that is selling now. This is the thing that is. So we need to really, really help them, structure their life, their business, their vision, and even with the values. Women are doing great, but the thing is that we don't have the capacity. We feel we are not enough. And the capacity I'm talking about is that how do you start a business without even knowing how the business can survive for 5 years? How the business can thrive for 100 years? How do you even start a business because your friend is doing the same business? And some women are so creative, they create unique things. But the problem is that they don't even have the capacity to take it out of the country. They feel that they can't go they can't go beyond their environment or their network. So there is need. to advocate. There's need to speak for women. There's need to assist. I've been able to. There was a time I gave some women grants, and after 1 year, when I saw them, they were about 10 or so. There were not many. They were 10 or so. After 1 year, and I saw them, I couldn't believe my eyes. They were looking so different, big. Even one of them was looking so rich. I had to tell her. I said, "Wow, I don't need anyone to tell me you're doing very well. It's just." And what did I do that time? I didn't only give them money. I created time to lecture them, to train them, to educate them about how to keep record. These are nano businesses, because I feel that they are doing a lot, but with nobody really see them. Nobody understand what they are doing. So we need to speak for women. Women can be vulnerable. Some women, I've seen a woman before that studied engineering, and after the dad invested so much in her, and the moment she got married, the husband said, "You can't do any other thing. You can't do another thing apart from this marriage." And that was it. She buried everything just because she wanted to raise children. So things like that, we need to let women know. I have 4 children by God's grace, and I've, for like 20 years plus now, I've been building career, I'm building business. The children are growing and they are doing well. It doesn't stop anything. So we need to advocate and let women know that, oh, number one, they can break boundaries. Number two, they can hold everything together, even without losing their life, without losing their self, without losing the value they carry. We can also let them know, we should also let them know that they can be vulnerable, but not totally broken. Vulnerability doesn't mean that you should now, stay in one spot and keep talking about your challenges every time. No, you need to move away. You've stayed too long on this mountain, cross to the other side. So we just try to boost their confidence, try to boost you know, their their ideas. Okay, you have little idea you don't know how to. We can help you. I help women put structure into it without even charging a dime. Let them put structure into it. Why not do this? Why not? There's one I'm doing presently now. We are trying to. So capacity is what we need. And capacity is not that I can do this. How far can you go with it? Is there a system that can sustain what you're doing? Is there a proper structure in place? You put structure into your talent or your vision, then it becomes global, it becomes big. How sustainable is what you are carrying? You have a baby, you are not feeding the baby will die. If the baby is eating and sleeping, the baby will die. So you need to nurture the baby, you need to take care of the baby, you need to plan for the baby, you need to teach the baby, you need to be part of the baby's life. Some women, they will start a business and they put people in charge and they are going all about, doing some other things. So when I see women like that, I sit them down, I tell them, please, let's talk. So that's one of the reasons why I advocate for women. I love to, and most times we don't even know what what our what is. And there's so much gap in Nigeria when you're talking about, gender, you know, gender. It's not as if I'm a feminist, but there should be a bit of balance. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be equal. But when we're having 7% of women, you know, having access, 7% of women have access to opportunities compared to their male counterparts. That's a huge gap, you know. There's a huge gap in that in that aspect. So I try as much as possible to let women know you can do it. Don't be limited by your environment, your background. I have my stories too. You know, when I was growing up, I wasn't very happy. I fought depression for 10 years. I was depressed. I couldn't even come out of it. I didn't even know it was called depression, but I knew I wasn't happy. So whenever I'm happy, I always ask myself, what's wrong with you? Kilo Dwen, why are you happy? You know, why are you unnecessarily happy? Then I go back to my shell until I was able found find myself, to find purpose. I was able to get out of it by the grace of God. So a lot of women, they just, some it could be marriage, some could be family, background, someone maybe even, environment, someone may different factors, but you need to get out of it. Find yourself. Allow God to work on you. God will have to break you first. After breaking you, then He start molding you. Then by the time He's finished, He's done molding you, then He will take you out. So you can't say because you are a woman, you can only do little, you can't do much. Children are blessing. They are not meant to limit us or constrain or restrict us from achieving our God-given goal or God-given vision.
This was how speechless you left us at the conference last year, the Up You Women conference last year, where you were guest speaker, keynote speaker. You opened your mouth and told your authentic lived story, and the entire hall was silent.
Yeah.
You've done it again now. You've just used that same voice again, that same powerful voice. You've just used it again to advocate yet again for women. I always say that for every success we see out there is a backstory, and your backstory is very, very powerful. And I think that is what helped your mindset, such that you're not flinching. You know exactly where you're going and you're headed in that direction. May more power be added to your voice because we need it. We need your voice to keep talking so that women will keep awakening. Because look at you, you're happily married, you've got 4 children,
Yes.
and you're still doing great. The important thing for me about you is that you're doing all of this without losing your womanness. Most people who are doing this will just not, they'll become less and less woman and they become hardened dog, no empathy, no affection, no humanity, and it's all hard, hard, hard. And are doing the deals from back to back. So my joy is that here is a woman, and truly a woman, doing it the right way. I pray that God continues to sustain you and sustain what you are building.
Amen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know,
Mm.
um, your work with OWIT, you're very passionate about it.
Yes. Waiting.
Um, yes, OWIT International,
Mm.
and everything that you do in global trade spaces. How important is it for African women to speak up and take their place in those rooms? It's one thing for you to be doing well locally, or how do you get a place at the table? How important is that globally?
Okay. So you have to, number one, you start small. You have to keep giving value. If you have something to give, people would
Give
actually,
again.
you know, once you have something to give, people will
Mm-hmm,
look for you. So
mm-hmm,
that's what give to gain is all about. You have to give value. You have to give everything without looking back or holding back. So for me, there's still more African women can do. There's
mm-hmm,
still more African women can do. We need to speak up. We need to take the stage, you know, and we are very rich in ideas when it comes to. I've met African women from different countries, and I see
mm-hmm.
great things that we are doing. We are exceptionally talented. We are exceptionally gifted, but we just need to come out and be bold enough. And how do you start? You start from your community. The value you give locally would transcend globally. There's no how it won't take you globally. There's no how it won't push you to the global stage. So for me, I started, volunteering locally, like from the church to, other community, um, humanity service. I'm always part of anything that supports women, and most especially in alignment with my value system, anything that have to do with women growth, and especially even when it comes to going after, the people in the rural areas and trying to, understand their pains, giving value to them, you know, contributing my own token to their life in a way, directly, indirectly. Somehow I moved away from there to the mid as to look to the secular stage, from church to secular. And I kept giving, because you can't give what you don't have. Once you have value, you will give. Naturally, it just come. So for me, when I joined Owit, that was one of the turning point in my own life as well. And I started giving the same value I've been giving everywhere I go to. And so that was one of the things that gave me recognition that, oh, you have everything. And Owit President, when she came to my factory, she said, Avila, hey, preparation meets opportunities. That's your story, you know. So in the time of your preparation, don't see it as a time that you're alone. Don't see it as a lonely time. Don't see it as a time that no one is seeing your efforts. God is actually preparing you for something big. So it was that preparation stage that I didn't miss, that now, you know, helped me to move to the global stage. Because for me, don't forget, I took I told you I've worked before. I served for years. From working, God told me to go and start Avila. From starting Avila, you know, I continue to give to the community. That I continue to serve the community that I have access to. Continue to volunteer, you know, help people grow their help people. I don't know how to put it, because I don't know, whatever I'm doing is God that is helping me, but I just make sure I'm part of humanity stuff. And when I got to Owit is all about global trade, women in international trade. And as at that point, I was already, trading across borders. My company was already registered in Ghana and maybe Kenya at that time. And I didn't know, when God told me, go and register in Ghana, go and register in Kenya. I didn't know He was actually preparing me to join with. Thank God I obeyed. For every step, you know, that doesn't look clear or doesn't look good or doesn't even look meaningful to you, and God is telling you to take, just know that He sees ahead and He sees everything. While you see in part, He sees the whole picture. So that was what happened. And I now realize that for years we have been marginalized in that space. I'm talking about Africa. We are not really speaking, and we have everything that it takes. When you're talking about the 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 enterprise, talking about the creativity, the even the strength, the capacity in terms of our reach, because most of the raw materials comes from Africa. For all these products you're seeing, the raw material is here, and we are talented people. So we just need to harness all the opportunities around us and, just move from here to the global stage. It's a process. It may not be immediately, but believe me, when you start creating values and your values start crossing borders, there's no how you will not cross borders too. You will also cross borders with your values. And that will now help you to become a voice, because you will become a voice that will be reckoned with. That, okay, I went to Kenya 2 years ago and I visited the biggest cosmetics factory there. And I realized that they don't even have the capacity that we have in Avila when you're talking about natural products. I met entrepreneurs too in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Kigali, and I realized that when we are talking about capacity for pure natural skincare, Avila, we have the biggest capacity. We have met people in this space. We've met. When you're not talking about synthetic cosmetics, you're talking about natural, organic products. In terms of capacity, by the grace of God, we are the biggest. How did I get to know? Opportunities. Thank God for organizations like ITC, She Trade, and whatever. They've been able to move us. they've been able to move us from, one country together, trying to bring entrepreneurs together, trying to help us to see ourselves and know our capacity so that we can collaborate if need be. I tell you, that now gave me the opportunity to be a stronger voice, because when you're talking about my niche, by the grace of God, we have the largest capacity in terms of production, in terms of reach as well. And as a woman, I've been to, been to some places that people ask me, they are not even African. They ask me, how are you doing it? You've been able to grow i- in producing this organic product for so many years. Like, how did you do it? Some of them will tell you, I'm doing it in my kitchen, and they are not even in Nigeria, they're in Europe. And some of them will tell you it's just a small place. Some of them will tell you, I am producing from China, and it is not even organic, pure organic or natural. So for me, when you have the value to give, that value will cross borders if you keep your focus like eagle, and you keep moving without distraction. Then the moment your good starts crossing borders, there's no how you won't cross borders. And with resilience, with consistency, focus, and um your own what's it called, your consistency, so to speak, believe me, you will just meet yourself on the global stage one day, and you realize you've gone so far, because every step you take every day take you closer to where you're going.
Thank you very, very, very much. Thank you. You know, if I didn't take anything, I'm taking away when you start to give value, people will feel your value.
Yes,
And when
ma'am.
your value goes to the marketplace, your voice also follows closely. And if your value goes international, of course, your voice also goes international.
Yes,
And it is
ma'am.
one step at a time, incremental build up
Yeah.
until opportunity meets success.
Yeah.
Amazing. Truly amazing. I'm enjoying this conversation and I could keep on, but let's drive it home. Let's bring it home now because you see, somebody on the stream is saying, "Mm, it's because she had support." Somebody, I can see somebody who even said, God told you, all kinds of things. I can see somebody saying, her father has been encouraging her. So I want you now to speak to that woman who feels invisible, that woman who feels unheard, that woman who doesn't have support. How can she even begin to make her voice be heard? Because she
Okay.
took something on the inside. She hungers to be heard. She wants a voice.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, let me quickly make
Where does
this
she start
clear.
from?
When I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get support from family when I started Avila, do you understand? Until today, there's no support from any family member. I came from a background that's I'm a Christian. I came from a Muslim background. And when I gave my life to Jesus, there was issues around it. And because of that, I was left alone. That's all. I said, oh, God will do it. So God, you said God will do it. Let's see how God will take you far. Even there was a time my relative told me something, said, you have not enjoyed the kingdom of this world. And you said you want to enjoy heaven. You have not even seen anything. And you are saying that you want to get to heaven. First, enjoy the kingdom of this earth before you can even talk about heaven.
Kingdom
Look
of
at your life.
heaven.
Look at how miserable your life is. That was what I was told some years ago. And so, because of that word, you can see I didn't forget. I still have it in my head. It was like a slap. And I told God, I said, God, whatever you cannot do in my life, let it remain undone.
Ah,
Yes.
powerful.
And I'm still saying it. Wherever God, I told him, I said, wherever you cannot take me to, may I never get there. I
Mm.
wrote it on my Facebook. Ayogbala was the Facebook page I was in. It's still there till today. If you search Ayogbala on my, because that was the name I was before I now had to change to Temitope Mayegun, because my name is Ayodele. But when I gave my life to Jesus, I was bullied, and I didn't like everything going on around me. And I said, Ayodele Kokon, Ayogbala. That there is joy in his salvation. It's not as if joy has reached the house. You understand? The joy
Mm-hmm.
of God is my strength. So I changed my name to Ayo Igbala. So that was what I used to create. Man, I wrote it there. I said, God, wherever you cannot take me, may I never get there. I'm sold out to you. I have been challenged that I have not enjoyed the kingdom of this world. Look at my life and look at the Jesus I gave. Look at the life I gave Jesus. Look at what it is looking like. That then let them see where Jesus will take me to. That
Mm.
was the that was what made, people, that's even the basis of my faith. I won't lie to you. I said, okay, Jesus, I'm going to hold on to you. If you cannot take me to anywhere, where I am going to, I am not going anywhere. It is where you take me to that I'm ready to go. I am sold out to you. So I didn't up to today. I am live. I've not gotten any support from my dad that maybe take this, or any family member or anybody. Nobody. Nobody. I'm an accountant by profession. I wanted to go to the bank to go and borrow money. I look at the interest rate, 35%. Okay, today is 46%. That time was 35%. And as a cost accountant, somebody that understands facts and figure, I said, oh, if I take loan and the interest rate is 35%, am I making up to, let's assume I'm making 50%, which I'm not making up. My profit is not even up to 35%. I said, even if I'm making 50%, by the time I pay interest of 35 and I pay salary, I pay this and that, how do I move this business forward? I will be making loss. And at the end of the day, the bank will be, that's why a lot of entrepreneurs working with loan, they don't usually survive the first 5 years when they start with loan. That's just the bitter truth. I'm just saying it now. But that was what I saw. I said no. So I had to, and God now gave me a business model. That, okay, this is how you are going to do it. You are not going alone. You are going to be sharing your profits with your partners as well, your distributors, because I call them my partners. They buy from me, so they are my partners. So that time, whatever profit, if I'm making, let's assume I'm making 20% profit, there is just 10 that is mine. And out of that 10, I have to pay my tithe. I believe so much in tithing, even when people, no matter what people say the tomorrow. Me, I don't hear things like that. I don't understand it. It's what the word of God says that I believe. So the remaining 10%, we pay commission to distributors. And people started coming in that this business is actually a good business. So I can buy and make money and also get commission on a monthly basis. And that's it. So there's nothing like support. The only what I said is that, okay, when I was young, when I was like 11 years old, you know, I'm from Abeokuta, and my dad used to talk about Fumilayo and some Kuti a lot. That she's the first woman. She was the first woman. She was the first woman to, drive a car in Abeokuta in Nigeria at that time. So he used to say that as a woman, there's no limitation except if you create
You
one
want to
for
do for
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
So I internalized that, but I had issues. I had issues with my mind. I grew up as a child without my mom by my side. I was put in a boarding school even when I was in nursery school. I had issues. When I was a teenager, there was no emotional support from anywhere. I was literally trying to figure out life since I was two till I got married. It wasn't easy. I was telling my daughter that, I didn't know what it is to even say I want to ask for money for pad when I was growing up. That's how bad it was. You know, as a teenager, I had to figure out how I would put myself together, not even using, but I said, okay, if I use this clothes, then I can what it was that bad. I had it very rough, despite that I was in a very wealthy home because I was alone. There was nothing like anybody to really, really, really. And I nearly, because I was very smart and very exceptional then when I was growing up. They still say it today. I had questions that when I asked, it was being taken down. Like, why would you talk like that? And so it was God that helped me to, get out of that shell. So when he brought me out of it, he had to break me. And after breaking me, do you know what happened next? It gave me the confidence I need to survive. Because without boldness, there's no how you can even get it done. You can't achieve anything. You need faith, and that's what faith is all about. The substance of things hope for. You understand? You need faith. That's what I have. I couldn't even tell them God said. A family that that they see me as a rebel, going away from a religion to another religion. It wasn't easy. I couldn't even share the vision with them because it was difficult. Because that Jesus, there was a time they called me that something happened, and I said, "Thank you, Jesus." And I was being taken down. That why would you say thank you, Jesus? That's why you see me saying thank you, Jesus, every time on my status, on my everywhere, because I'm free to say it now without being judged. So it's not about a family thing. Just find God. When you find God, you will find everything you are looking for. And
Hmm.
for every plan you have, just know God has a better and a bigger plan. He has a better and a bigger one for you. I wanted to be an accomplished accountant. I wanted to just, but God said, no, this is what I want you to do. I didn't like to speak like this. I didn't even want to come out and be known. I was very introverted. I didn't like, because of what happened when I was growing up, I just wanted you know, to be on my own. But thank God, God said, go and I will make you a voice. You can't hide. Go and check Avila 2017, 2018. You won't see me. I was always sending people for PR when they asked us to come and do interview. I would send staff to appear there. I was shy. And I always told me, how long will you continue to hide? I'm bringing you out. So if you don't have anybody, just have Jesus. If you don't have anyone, just hold on to God. That is me. Very unapologetic about my faith because I went to Arabic school. I was well brought up, you know, in Islamic religion. In fact, there was a time I told myself, I'm going to cover my head from head to toe. I'm going to be, very religious. I'm going to marry a very big and prominent imam. Those were things I had in my mind. I wasn't even discussing it out. But all of a sudden, when Jesus came, when I tell people that my own encounter is not something that I can easily, you know, easily just move away from. It was a Muslim girl that live in fear. There was a time we went to church with even our dog, and my dad beat us, beat our dog, beat every yes, it was that bad. So going out of that, you know what it is? You're like a rebel in the family. So nobody wants to, but thank God for God. Thank God for Christ. He helped me out of everything. And now I am so happy. Even my dad is proud. He's proud of me now. The last time I saw him, I remember him telling me that you are doing very well. And I said, God, thank God, Daddy, alone is the grace of God. And I keep looking at it. Imagine if when everything happened and I saw that I was alone, nobody was ready to. And I said, oh, nobody apart from, though I wept, I won't lie to you. I had low moments. There were times I was crying every day that why should I be alone in this life? Why can't I? But suddenly God came through my consistency in serving him, in you know, going out after whatever interests him, whatever interests God interests me. If it is evangelism, I'm in. If it is praises, I'm there. If it is love, I'm there. Love your neighbor as yourself, ensuring that you are there for people if you have the capacity. Whatever interests God interests me, because without God I wouldn't have made it this far. And believe me, it is all God. Especially Avila. Okay, he brought the vision, he gave the name. So who is the father of Avila? God name.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Whatever interests God interests me. Wherever God cannot take me to, let me not get there. Whatever God cannot do in my life, may it remain undone. These are very, very strong vows, very, very strong ones. And now this begins to explain, when this topic came into my head to invite you and we discuss on faith, voice, and vision, I
Mm.
was like, where are you coming from? But it's also good to listen when the Holy Spirit is speaking to you, because all the stories you're sharing today, I'm sure you know I didn't know. So
Yes.
therefore,
Mm.
it just tells you that God wanted you to impact a lot of women. And reading the comments that are popping, you're certainly resetting a few lives as you're talking. Because no one really should say, I am unseen. I do not have a voice. I have been here, Lord. But I have no man to push the pool. Because this is a villa that we're all looking up to. And she had no person to push her into the pool. She carried
Mhm.
herself with her dog and all and entered the pool and got beaten for doing that. So today, if you're on this stream, just rise up and find your God and hold on to him. It's the same thing. At the conference last year, the Up You Women conference last year, Mr. Oputa, Christopher Oputa said, you must make a vow to God. You must find God and make a vow to him and say, you know what, God, as you multiply me too, I'm going to be doing this your work.
Yes.
I can remember the day I came on Facebook and saw you with your megaphone preaching on the streets. I said, what is wrong with this woman? What is she doing? You know?
I do it
I'm like,
every Wednesday till today. Every
I'm
Wednesday,
like,
yes, not around.
oh, it's an every Wednesday thing for
Yeah,
you.
she did it last
Okay, so
week. Yeah, or two
you're
weeks ago.
my second you're my second group from this show who goes preaching on the streets.
Yeah.
The first person is Rosaline that owns Rosevic Schools. She drops off her children and she says, look, I am nobody without God.
Okay.
And I must help as many people as possible, especially women and children, find God. Because it's easier for a woman to convert her family than for the other way around. If
Yes.
women get it, then it's easier. So honestly, you are beginning to, the puzzles I had about you is beginning to fit in. You're becoming one whole picture. I can now understand the fire that propels you.
Yeah.
And this was the fire you now carried and went to go and meet them in Harvard and went to go massage. I can
Yeah.
imagine how you burnt up the rooms. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about your faith. We've talked about your focus. We've talked about your voice. Lots of people are asking you questions. Did you encounter any obstacles that you overcame? I think you've shared a few. So I think you've answered most of those questions. So now I'm going on to talk about your impact and scaling. You've already even given us some kind of statistics, when you say we're number one by the grace of God in terms of capacity. We're number one in terms of saying natural and meaning natural. And I can attest to that somewhat because, like I said earlier in the promo I sent out in the morning, what I used today was the carrot scrub. That's what I used on my face, and I used the carrot oil on my body. And I've been using it since last year. I haven't become fairer, so I know that it's not bleaching me. My
Yeah.
skin is better nourished. In fact, you were not here. Yesterday, I went somewhere and I was looking at myself in the mirror. I don't wear makeup until I have to. So I was barefaced and everything. And I looked at myself in the mirror of the place where I went to yesterday and I said, oh, Ezinne, for a 55-year-old, your skin is popping. Your skin is popping, So I like the fact that when you say natural, it is actually natural. And I can attest that all the oils we got from you for the conference, and I still sent some to some people in who were doing school reunion somewhere, and
Yeah.
everybody came back to say, "This is massive. This is good. This is good." So, yes, I attest that you're saying the truth about your product. And so now I want to talk about your impact and scale. So, my question really to you is, you've empowered thousands of women, thousands.
My
I know
God.
you're very modest. You don't want us to scream your accomplishments. So let me just say thousands. You've empowered thousands of women. It's so easy. I remember that at the conference, you told us that with 50,000 naira, we can even become distributors, starter packs, and then grow from there. I think that's as basic can be. Most people will not even allow people, what is 50,000? They won't allow people to come near their products with 50,000. But because you want to empower women, you make it very easy for us to get in. Um, what does this mean to you? Because I have this feeling that it's not just business, that this is your way of giving back. Am I right?
Yes, very true. You know, one of the things I I love, one of the things I am passionate about is empowering women. In fact, if you are going to scale it, you can say I can give it like, let's say 50%, or let me say 25. If I'm giving, you know, if I'm going to be really um truthful, let me say 25%. If you are rating my entire life, I love empowering women. And so when I realized that a lot of women, it's not as if they can't do the business, or they don't have the skill or the technical know-how. Their own is finance, because there is also finance gap when it comes to women entrepreneurs. So, and I realized that some women, they have potentials, but they still try to figure out how to survive every day. So I told myself, okay, we need to simplify this. Being a teacher, I didn't see that model from anywhere. It was through my meditation and, you know, um, journaling. I put everything down, and I realized that, okay, we can help women, more women, to be part of this vision. Let's just put 50,000 startup. And thank God I did that. You know, I have women that started with just 50,000 naira, and today they buy like 10, 15 million naira worth of products.
Wow,
Eh,
amazing.
I know women. There is one of them that she just called me, Mama, I don't have up to 50,000. I don't have up to, I said, how much do you have to start? She said 25,000. And she started with 25,000. And from there, she started, she's that time she was very young, and she started networking, calling people to buy from her. The following day, she sold out. She called again that she has been able to gather a total of 100,000 people deposited money. They order ahead from 100,000. She said, "Oh, I've been." All of a sudden, she became a major, from major to diamond. And there was a time we are having promo. This woman bought up to 45 million, and I was that alone. That's a story alone change my whole change the whole narrative about startup capital, or maybe distributorship and all that. That you need to break a bank before you be a distributor of a brand. I said, if this lady can do this, no. And from there, she diversified into other things. I also have women that maybe they lost their job from the bank, and they said, Mama, even the 50,000 I don't have, but can I put a particular amount, maybe 40,000? I say, okay, just start. And today, they are part of my major distributors. They are part of my diamond. Diamond, they buy in millions. So what am I saying? If I didn't give them job, and I also have a lady in Akure, you know, that time she didn't have any business. She was in school, according to her, that she was just around the street. You know what it is now, young lady trying to figure life out on the streets. And so she made inquiry about distributorship. We told her she didn't have the money. So God just laid it in my heart to bless some people with distributor, the distributorship package for that season. I think there were about 25 of them. So I gave them 25,000 each worth of products. Do you know this lady? She's one of the top buyers. There was a time she brought up to 5 million naira worth of products. She has about 2 stores in Akure now. She was able to finish. She's a graduate now. She's married. She did a video. I posted it on my IG page one time. So when I say I'm a social entrepreneur, I'm not a social entrepreneur. I'm not just saying it for a social impact or entrepreneur or a social entrepreneur. I'm not just saying it because of the trend. I'm saying it because I have walked the paths. I've seen testimonies. I've heard testimonies. I've seen the reality of it. So when you give women opportunity, I believe we can multiply. Look at it when it comes to childbearing. When you can testify through that. You just give a woman sperm and she comes back with baby, some maybe two triplets. I've
Some
seen.
as many as 4 quadruplets.
So it is just it's not about um money alone. It's all about opportunities, allowing people to also be part of what you are doing. I share knowledge with distributors. They are part of the movement because God said it. So I willingly make sure they also have access to what we're doing, in the sense that know your products, know what is there. Just like you just talk about carrot oil now, know what you're doing. You can sell. It doesn't have to be. Let's go all out and campaign against harmful chemical products. Let's all go all out and let people know about Avila. We share the same value, and because of that, we're growing together. So for me, you don't have to make a brand before you have access to opportunities like we have in Avila. I've seen women that will be running. Even one was sharing testimony with me yesterday. She said, she's no longer in Nigeria now, but she was telling me how she will use bike to go and deliver products that every day she was making an average of 3,000 naira every day, and that was what helped her to, then the next time she moved away from that to becoming a major distributor, having a store. From there, she started getting people buying from her in bulk. And when people started buying from her in bulk, I've seen a distributor that say, how on earth will I be able to have over 20 million transaction in my bank statement? She said she put in her bank statement. She saw that. She said it can only be after. I said, just let's give God glory. He brought it for us. But believe me, is a movement that we have common goals, common vision, and values as well. So we need to make it easy. For me, once you give women opportunity, it will multiply. Give a woman one opportunity, train her, and try to guide her on how to go about it. She will definitely come back with, triple or, you know, multiple. It doesn't have to remain. If you can start small, you don't have to remain small. I tell women, and it's so interesting. When I watch, at times when they don't even talk and we're having our dinner and award nights. Don't worry, this year is now we invite you for our answer. You'll see
So
how
I
this
already told you I was coming. If you like, send the invitation. I will be there.
I'm waiting for our. I will make sure I get you. So you see women, when I just be smiling that, oh, this woman started with 30,000. Look at her today. This one started with 50,000. Oh, I remember when this woman came and she was crying that she lost her job. She couldn't figure out, like, I wasn't perfect, so I had my own challenges too. I just shared part of it. So we were all broken and God started building us. And today, you know,
Yes, yes, yes. Your story is very amazing, and I've witnessed firsthand how these distributors relate to you. So I do know that it's a real family that you have
Yeah.
built together there. It's a very thriving community. So well done, well done.
Thank
I
you.
am sure it didn't come easy at all.
And
So thank you very much for all that you do. I'm not sure you realize that we have been talking for more than an hour
I
and
know. I want to
I'm
leave.
having fun. You're having fun. Everybody's having fun. My producer is pulling his hair. Rap, rap, rap. And I said, no, the devil fought us this morning and we have beat it, him, she down.
Thank God.
So I'm happy that we have been able to talk this long. But before I let you go, I'm going to ask you a very final last questions, right?
Yeah.
Um, so um, listening to you really, one thing is very clear. Faith gives you the courage to start. That's what you taught us today.
Yes.
Focus gives you the discipline to build. That's also what you taught
Yeah.
us today. And
Mm.
voice gives you the power to influence. That's what you've taught us today. And when those three things come together,
Mm.
what you build is not just a business. What you build is a and
Talk.
is also evident in yeah, I logged myself out for a moment right there. I'm back here. So when those three things come together, um faith, focus, voice. What you build is not just a business, what you build is a movement. And that's what we have also seen from the very last story you shared about your shareholders and all of that. So, my final question to you, Dr. Mayegun, this afternoon will be if you could leave every woman watching us with one sentence, something she can hold on to as she builds her life, as she builds her business, as she builds her community, what will it be?
With God, all things are possible. Keep moving, keep going, don't stop. Even when you are tired, remember your why. Why did you start? Go after your why and keep moving. When the road is rough, leverage the storm to move to the next level. You can do it. With God, all things are possible.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Mayego. I'll try to break that down. I hope I can because it's so profound. I can't even begin to tell you what you have done to me as I listened to your closing charge. The
Mm,
first thing you said was, with God, all things are possible. That's a fact. That's a truth.
mm,
The next thing you said is, even if storms are raging at you, leverage the storm. That is the one that just hit me like a bullet.
Yes. Thank you,
Don't
ma.
run from, yeah, don't run from the storm. Charge at it yourself and leverage it. Look at it, pull back, analyze it, know where it's coming from, know its potential, know its strength, know what it's come to do. It's not every storm that has come to kill us. Some come
Yeah,
to refine us, some come to recharge us,
yeah.
some come to call us higher. Try and analyze the storm and then leverage it. Oh my goodness. I
Mm,
think on that note, I will be wrapping up today's discussion. And I'm sure that all of you on this stream will agree that it's been such a wonderful one. You know, we've learned a lot about faith. We've learned a lot about focus. We've learned a lot about voice. But most importantly, we have heard that the one thing that holds it all together is God. We are very, very grateful. So thank you so much, Dr. Temitope.
Mayegun. You're welcome.
Good.
Thank you for inviting me.
I
I
like the
have
way you just came back and said your name. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your journey, and your truth with us.
you're welcome.
Thank you. We can
Yes,
all
no,
see that this is lived experience. You're not talking to us from a book. This is what
no,
you have lived. This is what you have experienced. And we
yes,
can connect with it and we can take nuggets from it and
yeah,
thank you. Thank you
you're
so much.
welcome.
And
I
to
appreciate
everyone watching,
it.
to everyone coming to watch, remember this. You already have what it takes. Your faith is not a weakness. Your focus is not optional. And your voice is not something to hide. Use it. Dr. Mayegun told us how, in the initial 2 years of her business, she used to send people to go and represent her until one day God said to her, "It is you I gave the vision to. So I want you to be seen and I want you to be heard." So, you, dear woman, that you're hiding, God is saying to you today, I want you to use your voice. I want you to use your voice. It's not something that you should hide. I don't want your focus to be optional. If you need to do away with going to parties like Dr. Mayegun did, please go ahead and do that. Whatever the distraction you're facing right now, cut it out and focus. And then please know, faith is not a weakness. Dr. Mayegun is unapologetically a Jesus girl. She even told us that she goes out every Wednesday to the streets to go and evangelize. Some of us are Jesus girls, but we're in the closet. Jesus wants us to come out and be there for him. I pray that he will enable all of us to find him, to love him, to say, like Dr. Mayegun said, what you cannot do in my life, let it remain undone. And this is where we'll wrap it up this afternoon on Up You with Ezinne, and I'll see you next time. Until I come your way, please keep building, because faith gives you the courage to start. Keep using your voice, because your voice is not just for you. And stop waiting for permission to build your life or your business. Please take that permission today from Dr. Mayegun and myself and every other woman that is building. And we'll see you at the top. It's up you. My name, as always, is Ezinne Kufre Kanen. Bye for now.